Hello, everyone, and welcome. Do you want to move from the kingdom of stress and frustration and annoyance and maybe disappointment, anger, all those things that we come up in life that don't help us lift ourselves up to a life filled with joy? Well, today we're going to go over 4 action steps that can help you shift your life as completely as you want it to. If you so choose to move in that direction, you're going to find that things that you want to manifest come easier and more quickly than you think they will. Hello, I'm Carol Deshane, your intuitive spiritual guide for practical matters and certified Marconics Energy recalibration practitioner. Well, first, before we get moving on those action steps, let's be clear that we're on the same page with what joy actually means to you, because this is my version of joy, and I think you'll agree it's pretty cool. Joy is deeper than happy. It is a much, much deeper place, and it's an emotion that can stop you in your tracks. The first time that you feel it, you feel a little awe. And I will say, you feel it usually in your body. I usually feel it in the third chakra, so right below my breastbone in this third chakra area where it's like, oh, it's not quite like being hit in the gut, that's a little lower, but that's just where I feel it. And my mind stops spinning. It's quiet, at least for a couple of minutes. And if you were the kind that just sort of out of control with your mind, you will understand what a beautiful moment that can be. You feel this deep inner peace. And this is still all about joy, remember. You feel this deep inner peace, and it's a combination of that awe I mentioned and an overwhelming feeling of delight and even bliss. It's a connection to source that is at some level, it's deeper than anything you will have felt probably in the past, because it's an inner knowing that we're all connected. Whether or not you believe in God, it doesn't matter. You'll feel this connection to the earth, to other people and things. And it's very much of a moment, because you just feel so amazed at the world. This also transcends circumstances. So if you have this feeling inside of you, and usually it's only there for a moment or two, but if you have those moments and some circumstances will come up in your life, it won't bother you the same way it would have in the past, because you'll be in this beautiful place. So if you felt joy before, you know it. And you may, like I said, have only felt it for a split second, or you might have carried it on longer. If you can walk in joy with this kind of like blissed out state, you may not want to be there for very long, only because you can't get a whole lot done. You feel so connected and so at ease, and your mind is so calm that if you want to do something in the material world, you kind of need to shift it a little bit and adjust it in order to make that happen. But it is beautiful. And once you're there, you want to get back. That's what everybody always tells me. I want to get back to that feeling. But you don't need to go back anywhere. You need to just be fully present in this moment. And that's what can bring you joy. If you haven't felt this before, it's not unusual, but you might find that a circumstance, even though it transcends circumstances, a circumstance the first time might help trigger that joy in you. So if you love being in nature, maybe you've had that moment where you've looked at the nature in just awe. Your mind calms and you go, wow. You don't even say wow, you just feel it. Oh. It's maybe looking at a waterfall. I just had a hummingbird today outside my window, and there's nothing for a hummingbird to be there for, but it came to visit, and that was my moment. It felt beautiful, and I really appreciated that hummingbird to stop its moment to say hello to me, which is what it felt like. It was a moment of joy today. You might also find joy the first time when you're looking maybe at the spouse, the person you're going to be marrying, and you look in their eyes on that day when you're saying your vows, Maybe before you say anything, you look at them and you go, oh, you have such a deep connection, and you just know this is amazing. You might feel it if you I'm not a parent, but if you are a parent, I've heard that the first time you hold your child or you see a smile, those are the times you might also feel this immense feeling of joy, something deeper than you, and that connection that you may feel. So now that you know what I consider a definition of joy, which is way more than just I'm happy, because happy is from outside. Happy is what circumstances make us. Joy is from inside, and it kind of spills over into the rest of our life. And if it can spill over into the difficult circumstances, those things will shift. So let's get into those 4 action steps, because hopefully by now you're going, yeah, let's go. This is great. I really want to have this joy in my life. So action step number 1 is think about people and circumstances and anything that annoys you, that bothers you, because it's something that kind of keeps you from feeling joy. So whether it's your boss, it's someone at the office who says or does something, or wherever your business may be, it could be something that you have to do at the office or at your business that you hate doing. And it's just like, every time you have to think about it. It could be a person other than your boss. It's probably, maybe it's even your spouse, your significant other, your children, people you don't want to even think about the fact that they annoy the heck out of you sometimes. And we're all human, because that could happen. Maybe it's also who get the poor bad rap. Maybe it's your mother-in-law, father-in-law, even your own sister or brother. They can all drive you crazy, and they have those moments. And maybe you deal with it because they're family, but it stops you from your joy in your own estimation. So come up with 3 or 4 of these different people or places or things that you have to do that stop you from really feeling that joy. It makes you to maybe heavier, upset, frustrated, maybe even angry, fearful, whatever it is, those things that stop you from your joy. Think of, like I say, 3 or 4 of those, and then pick one. Don't pick the easiest one, because we want to make you work a little bit, but don't pick one that's been a lifelong habit or problem or fear that's like you're asking an awful lot the first time, sort of asking yourself to fail. If you just choose something you know is overwhelming, choose that second or third or maybe fourth as you go through this. After you pick one, whenever you do that, I want you to give it 3 tests. This is all part of the first action step. Can you dump this thing or this person out of your life? Can you dump it? Is it really important to you? Does it have to be there? And if it doesn't, give it the heave-ho. You don't need those things in your life. But if it's your boss and you want to keep that particular job, you might not choose dump it as the first choice. If it's something you need to do on a daily basis, do you really need to do it? So give that some thought and see if the first test, if it'll pass or not. Can you dump it? The second part, can you delegate it? Can you kind of divert it to someone else? Can you make your children do it for you? If people still have allowances, when I was growing up, eons ago, my parents gave allowances if you did your chores. I don't know if people still do that very often, but if they do, you can shift their chores and say, oh, you get to include the one thing I hate. You get to wash the dishes this time. You graduated. I'll do the drying. You do the washing. Learn something new. And I don't have to do it anymore. Woohoo! So perhaps that might be something you can do. Maybe if you're an employer, you can delegate it to an employee or hire someone. If you hate gardening and your spouse doesn't want to do it or doesn't have time, if you're married, maybe you can hire a gardener for a couple $100 a month. I mean, if you have that capability, that's a great way to do it. For certain jobs, I don't like cleaning my house. I finally found somebody fabulous to do it for me. Once a month. I keep it up. Other than that, they just have to come and do the stuff I hate to do. So delegate it if you need to. And if that doesn't work either, if you can't dump it and you can't delegate it, try shifting the dynamic. Think about tweaking it in some way. Maybe you always do the thing that you hate at 6 a.m. and you hate getting up at 6 a.m. So maybe twice a week you sleep into 7 and you choose to do that thing some other time. Maybe you do it, like maybe you do meditation and you really hate sitting there for an hour and you force yourself to sit there for an hour. So maybe you only choose half an hour, or you do an hour less once a week. You do it every day, do it every other day, or do half an hour every day. Whatever you want to do to shift, still maybe do it. If you can't dump it, you can't delegate it, that means you need it in your life. Find some way that you can adjust it enough that it doesn't bother you as much anymore. Maybe the project or whatever it is that you need to do takes 5 steps, and you look at it and you go, the step that bothers me the most is the 3rd step. The other 4 things don't bother me. And if that's the case, maybe the 3rd step you can adjust or shift or have that step be someone else's job, and then you do the other 2. I haven't mentioned if it's a person. So if it's a person, if it's a relative, that's your spouse's relative, perhaps with caller ID, you'd love that caller ID. You see it and you go, oh, honey, it's your mother. Your job, you talk to her. Or set a time limit that you're willing to talk to someone that drives you crazy. Give them 5 or 10 minutes. Set a boundary. I have a different video on that. Feel free to look that one up. So that's action step 1. Choose something that keeps you from your joy. Person, place, circumstances, thing you have to do. And either give it the 3-part test. Can you dump it? Can you delegate it? Or can you shift the dynamic and tweak it a little bit so it doesn't bother you as much? That's step 1. Action step 2 should be a whole lot of fun, because action step 2 is to figure out what actually brings you joy. And if you don't know anything that makes it that deep joy that I was talking about, the love and just the wonderful feeling, then maybe you just go for fun or for happiness. What do you do that makes you feel like you're having a lot of fun? Because that starts that connection and raises your vibration a little bit so that you can feel the joy easier. And that's the whole thing to do. So what brings you joy? Figure out some. Pick a few that take 5 or 10 minutes and take a few that take a lot longer time. Depends on how much time that you're willing to delegate and prioritize having fun and having joy in your life. So if you really want to be consistent, you need to do this every day. Darn, you need to have fun every day to find that joy every day. And you need to make a note next to your bed, or maybe on the mirror that you always look in to wash your face, or whoever you are, what you do, somewhere that will remind you, maybe even on the clock if you set your alarm other than your phone, that says, have fun. Did you have fun today? Did you find your joy today? So even if you go, okay, I'll stay up 5 more minutes and I'll have some fun. Darn. I told you you'd like this homework. It's not so hard. But you can pick anything. I mean, you can pick, maybe you love to meditate, but you never have the time. Pick 5 minutes. And maybe if you meditate and you hate it and you go, but I love walking in nature and it's right outside my door. Take 10 minutes, maybe not at night, but take it at lunch if you can. Take it sometime and maybe do a walking meditation if meditation is important to you, but you fall asleep when you're doing it. There's all sorts of fun things that you can choose. And I have to admit that things like an hour of bubble bath or reading a novel that makes me really happy, those things I almost never do anymore. Well, I take a bubble bath, but not as long as I like to. So if reading a novel is what you love, or if you are like me and you love to do jigsaw puzzles, I do them for 6 hours at a time because I want to finish them. Same way I read a novel generally. It doesn't, though, usually take me 6 hours. So if that's the case and you're afraid, but what if I get stuck? I'm going to hate you in the morning. I'll be up until 3 doing this thing I love to do. And then I won't love it the last hour because I'm too exhausted. Set a timer. Every phone has a timer and a stopwatch, or you can make one. You can upload it or use the Play Store or whatever that is in iPhone land. You can pull it down onto your phone. Have a timer that makes lots of noise when you're done with your half hour or 45 minutes or whatever you want to do. It will warn you, and then it's on you if you go over. So that's the second action step. Find some items that you love to do that bring you joy. I wouldn't say playing video games are necessarily a good choice because they make you go numb. They don't really bring you joy. It's a fine line. So anything that makes you feel and uplifts you when you're done doing it and makes you feel wonderful. And you don't have to feel guilty because you have to do it. So allow yourself to have this fun. Whatever way that you can raise yourself up, do it. And then make sure you do it every day. And that if you set a timer, if you have to, if it's a little longer, that you can do that as well for yourself. So the next thing is action step number 3. That's to give your joy away. And so many times we feel like we're going to have lack. We won't have enough if we give things away. Prosperity, oh, if I give my money to charity or something, I don't have enough now. How will it actually work? If you think, I hardly ever have joy or even happiness in my life, I can't give it away, then I'll have nothing. Then I'll never have it. But that's not true. Because every time you see someone, like a child laughing or giggling because there's just so much joy for them, something they're doing or they've read, well, not read, but that they're so beyond themselves. They're having so much fun. When people see those little children, they start smiling. You start laughing with them. You feel that higher vibration that's coming off of that child in waves going, wow, this is so much fun. And you leave the child feeling raised up. And that's the case with anybody that you help celebrate with. If they're truly happy, you'll feel raised up. And at the end of the day, you go, wow, what a great day. I loved today. It felt so good to be part of this, to be part of the wedding or an anniversary party or birthday party or whatever it may be. It felt good to be with this person. They made me feel really good about myself. So if you feel joy or happiness, share it. Don't be afraid to tell people, wow, this is a great day. Let's go have some coffee. Let's talk. Wow, this is great. Don't be afraid because it takes nothing away from you. And you'll find that it'll double and triple your joy. And every time you do it, it'll be easier. Which leads me to action step number 4, which is repeat the first 3 steps. So what you're going to do is practice, practice, practice. Step 1, remember, you're going to be choosing something that stops you from your joy. That's kind of a pain in the neck, frustration, fearful, annoyance, whatever it may be. As you pick one and you give it the 3-part test of can you dump it, can you delegate it, or can you shift the dynamic on it? Once you do that and you do it successfully, choose another one. Don't stop after the first one. Keep choosing things that get in your way, that are part of your everyday life, that stop you from feeling joy, that kind of sidetrack you from joy. And then step 2, remember, find those things that bring you joy, 5, 10 minutes, half an hour, if you're lucky, the whole day, or maybe a vacation you plan around what brings you joy. Whatever it is, every day though, find at least 5 or 10 minutes to have that joy, to raise your vibration to at least fun, if not joy. Find some fun for 5 or 10 minutes. Even if all you do is turn on some music and dance around, knowing nobody can see you probably, unless you're in your office or something, but dance around. Enjoy it. Sing at the top of your lungs somewhere where no one will be bothered unless you're really good. You can do that even if it's just for 5 or 10 minutes. And do it consistently every day. Don't go to bed without doing it, even if you have to set a reminder for yourself. And then action step 3 is to give away your joy. Let it flow out from you, and don't be afraid that you won't have enough. By doing these 3 or 4 action steps, you're going to find that those triggers that used to make you get more annoyed or depressed or uncomfortable, those triggers are going to be shifting. They're not going to bother you as much. They won't be blocking your joy. as much as they were. And then if you practice every day, you'll feel more and more moments of this joy. It'll come all of a sudden, you go, oh, this feels so good. Something will trigger you into the joy instead of the opposite. And not only will you have it more often, those moments will be longer. You feel them more and more. Life will be so much better and such a better adventure. And life will actually start becoming easier to deal with because you'll manifest what you want quicker because you'll be in this raised vibration. Thank you for joining me today. If you're interested in hearing more or similar things, please subscribe and then click the bell notification so you can know the next time that another video comes out. I'm Carol Deshane, and if you'd like to know more about me, about Marconics multidimensional ascension healing modalities, or energy space clearing, and also my coaching packages, of course, please check out www.connecttojoy.com, which will also be below on this video. Thank you again. Until next time, find your joy.